Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MathChat, the live call-in show that answers all your questions. I'm Frank Morgan, Professor of Mathematics at Williams College, and as my very special guest tonight, I have Professor Benoit Mandelbrot, Abraham Robinson Professor of Mathematical Sciences at Yale University, and the father of fractals. Welcome. It's a great honor for MathChat and for WillieNet to have you here tonight.
It's a delight for me to be here. I'm delighted.
We're going to talk about fractals. You'll be taking calls. You're willing to answer questions.
Absolutely.
Right here on our phone at 4580900 on our caller ID system. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the usual array of prizes, challenge questions, answers. We'll be looking forward to your calls. In fact, you can call in anytime you like. Our staff is here enjoying a new studio for WillieNet. We'll tell you more about that later. In the control room, Leila Zelnick. On camera tonight is Corey Heilman. Also in the control room are Robin Yan and Tom Grant. And we have a very interesting show for you. I think you're going to enjoy this very much. And I want to get out a challenge question right away. This will be a challenge question if you're willing to be the judge, Professor Mandelbrot.
Yes.
And the challenge question is to come up with the most interesting shape you can think of, anything in the world. What is the most interesting shape? You can call in with your entry, and Professor Mandelbrot will be the judge. You know, as our prize, we give out Flatland as the usual prize on the show. But if he judges this to be a truly outstanding winner, we will give out a copy of Professor Mandelbrot's book, The Fractal Geometry of Nature. That's a pretty interesting shape on the front of that one there.
Absolutely.
And if it's really outstanding, perhaps you will include an autograph?
Absolutely.
All right, so we will, so there's a prize that you can be eligible for, folks, and call in anytime you like here at 4580900. We'll be taking calls here tonight. So fractals have become a household word, along with Mandelbrot. How did that happen? How did you discover this idea of fractals?
Well, it's a long story, but I was always interested in complicated shapes. My friends were interested in simple shapes. I was interested in complicated ones. I was different. And then a long story turned, and finally I was the right man in the right place at the right time. And I was able to bring together my taste for mathematics and my taste for beautiful shapes by using computer graphics.
Were there any particular shapes that you were thinking of at the beginning? Was it shapes from nature that got you interested, or more scientific sources? Or?
Well, the most important, oddly enough, early on was the shapes you see in financial page in newspapers, financial records.
You mean like the graph of how the Dow Jones is doing?
Absolutely. And it's very complicated, and I felt that the people who are dealing with that did not quite how to say, manage to understand the complication of this shape. So I started looking at it, and I found an interesting thing about it. And then by and by, I became interested in turbulence, which is the weather, and other phenomena, then coastlines, then distribution of galaxies, and so on and so on. I found that the world is a very much more complicated shape than I had thought, that my friends had thought, that science had thought.
But in some ways, now the explanations are simpler than they used to be.
Well,
I mean, to describe a mountain before, you had to tell everybody where every single rock was if you wanted a good picture.
Yes. Well, there's no science of a singular shape. There's no science of Mount Washington, of Mount McKinley, Mont Blanc. That doesn't exist. There's science of mountains. And so science wants to extract what is essential in all these different mountains, what is common to Mount Everest, to Mount McKinley, and so on. And ordinarily—
But there's so many details. How can you ever get a model?
You don't look for details. You look for simple rules. And the simple rule which came about is that, in a certain sense, a small part of a mountain is like a big part of a mountain. A mountain has this property that parts are the same as the whole. It's like for a tree. The branches are more or less the same as the whole tree.
But this picture here, so this is one of the pictures from your book, and it has a picture of a kind of mountain there.
Yes.
And this, as I understand, is not a real, this isn't a real photograph.
Absolutely not. Not a photograph, not a landscape, not an artist's contraption. It is a mathematical formula. The mathematical formula is very simple. It takes 1, 2 lines. Then, of course, you have pages and pages of code. But the basic idea is, in this picture, is not that one, how to say, tries to synthesize one's mind every complication in the world. One looks for order in this chaos of experience. And the order is simple rules. And in this case, the order is that each part is like the whole thing.
And that enables you to come up with this picture of a mountain. But still, though each part isn't exactly like the whole somehow, so there must be some randomness introduced to it, some variety?
Absolutely. There are two kinds of fractals. Some have randomness, others have nonlinearity. And then there are also fractals which have linear transformations. These are the simplest, the baby fractals, the toy fractals. They are very important, but they are not interesting in nature. What is interesting is fractals which either have element of randomness, of chance, or fractals which have an element of non-linearity, which is the signing characteristic of chaos.
So can you use this kind of analysis to make money in the stock market then?
Well, no.
No?
I'm sorry to say. However,
well, viewers, sorry.
However, I can do many things with it. I can evaluate the risk on a portfolio.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
So you can do something about portfolio risk.
And I can, for example, advise a bank about how much reserves they must have in order to avoid the risks. Because some banks have too much reserves, other banks may perhaps have too small reserves. And the way the reserves are evaluated, are predicted, is not very, very good, I think.
So why is it that you can tell how much reserves you need and not know? How can you do that without knowing whether the market's going up or down?
Because you must be ready for everything. Now, if the market were simply a random walk, that is, you toss a coin, if coin comes heads, market goes up. It comes tails, market goes down. And
it looks a lot like that, doesn't it?
Well, it does, in a very first approximation. So a first approximation is like that. If that were the case, many things could be done quite simply, but it's not the case. For example, if you take a random walk, or what's called Brownian motion, the same thing, like a particle which is tossed by other particles, then everything varies continuously. But just think about it. The stock market does not vary continuously.
Oh, it has these jumps.
Absolutely.
We've had some big ones lately.
Well, all the time. And even very big corporations have jumps. And small corporations, enormous jumps. Instantly, a price becomes multiplied by 10 or divided by 10. Now, that does not happen in a Brownian motion.
I think this is another good challenge for the audience. If anybody can call in and give an example of something else other than the stock market which really jumps, which doesn't move smoothly and continuously, but takes jumps, something in the real world, something in nature. And actually, I have one other little puzzle here. This is, we have one of these every week. So if somebody would like to call in, these are supposed to mean something. And I'm looking at this one on the right here, which looks like the two letters B and K with some space in between. And the idea is to try to figure out what that means there. This is an important one of these that we've had, I think, from last time. So we have that contest. Or any other questions you have, ladies and gentlemen, you can call in at 458-0900. We're happy to take your calls. Professor Mandelbrot was speaking yesterday at this Hudson River Undergraduate Math Conference, gave the large invited address to a very interested audience in Chapin Hall. 400 and some students and faculty came from surrounding schools, and a number of people from the public. So you really showed the way, and all the speakers were quite good, I think, and deserve a lot of credit for giving their various talks. So it was a great day we had yesterday. So
I was delighted. It was a very, very nice occasion.
Time to congratulate everybody. And I should mention some of the other events coming up while we have a chance here. Of course, tonight we're here in this new studio, and you may notice that the background is rather interesting. That's a fractal design there, and that's done electronically. We don't actually have that on the wall behind us. This is a superimposed image and gives you the kind of thing that you'll be seeing on shows on WillyNet from now on. So it's quite interesting to see. Tomorrow, the Math Colloquium at 1 will be a special show for the prospective students who are arriving. So everybody's welcome to come. If you know something about the college and math at Williams, tell the prospectives about it. Everybody there will have a chance. We'll just be sharing our ideas and answering questions. On Wednesday at 1, the math colloquium is going to be given by Eric Watson. That's a name maybe you recognize.
Oh, yes.
He introduced you yesterday. He was the coach, he was the student chair of the Hudson River Conference.
Very nice young man.
And he was also my original co-host on this program, on MathChat, the founding co-host. And he's going to be giving a talk about card shuffling, including a little magic, too. So that'll be fun on Wednesday when I think everybody would enjoy that. Friday, we aren't having the faculty seminar as usual because Professor Garrity is giving a talk out at Amherst. Anybody wants to go, we'll be leaving at 2. Next Saturday at 3:30, Victor Hill, and I think you met him yesterday in the math department. He's our mathematician-musician, professional musician, and he's giving a lecture recital next Saturday as part of Parents Family Weekend at 3:30 in Brooks Rogers on Bach and math.
Oh, I heard him last time I was here.
You heard that maybe?
Yes,
well, he did a special, the last time you were here, he did a performance lecture in your honor in the chapel.
Oh, it was marvelous.
And
I remember very well. I remember very, very well.
So this is another opportunity to hear about that topic, Victor Hill, next Saturday. And then next Sunday on MathChat, it'll be Professor Dick DeVoe, one of our favorite guests, who will be on the show in preparation for his Sigma Xi lectures the week after that on Thursday and Friday. So there's a lot of good events coming up that we're looking forward to here.
Quite an active place.
So a lot going on, that's right. Now you said you were the right man at the right time to study fractals. But if you had to say in one phrase, what was the single thing in your background or in the way you are that best prepared you to make that discovery?
Well, it was the fact that I was interested in mathematics and in shape, in art, and that for me the two were not separate. Many of my friends, an uncle of mine was doing mathematics weekdays and painting on Sundays.
So art and math, the same?
The same. It is one field.
Oh, we've got a caller here. Live on MathChat, go ahead.
Hi, this is Mary DiMatteo.
Hi, was it Mary? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Mary, welcome. How nice to hear from you. Do you have a question or an answer for us?
I have an answer.
An answer, good. What's your answer?
It's a seismographic, for a graph that jumps.
A so you're talking about an interesting shape, right?
Yeah.
And this is on a seismograph. Oh, I see. What comes out of these machines that measure earthquakes? Is that it?
Yeah.
And this is an example of something with a jump in it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's very interesting.
So this is describing not only, so there's that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Very, very interesting.
If you look, and I guess ordinarily you would have to be very patient because if you look at the surface of the Earth and graph that, it stays pretty still for a while. And then all of a sudden,
well, if you look, but if you look very carefully with the boogie machine, it jumps all the time.
Oh, there are little tremors all the time?
All the time.
Little tiny earthquakes all the time?
Well, very tiny here.
During our show even, there are really tiny, mini earthquakes going on.
Very tiny in this state, but sometimes bigger.
Did you know that, Mary?
No.
Little ones all the time. But then when there's a big one, that's a big jump. And I guess we haven't had a big one here in Massachusetts. Have you ever seen an earthquake, Mary?
No.
Do you want to sometime?
No.
Not to? All right. We'll watch from afar on those. Well, I think that's a good answer, huh? And probably the best one so far.
Well,
so you're winning to date, Mary. So keep watching, and we'll announce the winner at the end of the show. And if you're the winner, make sure you call back to give us your name and address so we can send you your prize.
Okay.
Okay. Where are you in school here in Williamstown?
Yes.
Where?
Williamstown Elementary School.
Oh, Williamstown Elementary. Okay. Well, you're doing them proud tonight, Mary. Hope the winner comes from your school, and I hope it's you.
Okay.
Thanks very much for calling.
Yep. Bye.
So there's the best answer comes from one of our elementary school students.
Well, she's
Mary
watching. She's watching.
It was a good one, though, wasn't it?
Very excellent.
Because that's one where you do really get a jump in the world.
Yes. You see, the small earthquakes, when seas are the big earthquakes far away, and they propagate in the earth, and so one can watch here the big earthquakes very far away.
Well, that's one reason the Earth here might
Yes.
move a little bit.
Yes.
Now, of course, the Earth moves a very little bit, even if someone jumps up and down in the next room, I guess, huh?
Well, not the earth, the floor.
But doesn't even the Earth a tiny, tiny little bit?
Well, a tiny bit, yes.
And these things are all on the various, that's one of the interesting things about fractals, though, I guess, in that there's activity on all scales.
Something happening at every scale. There is little bumps, big bumps. It's like a big cloud and has billows upon it and smaller billows and smaller billows and billows, billows upon billows upon billows, endlessly.
So it's fun to think about these earthquakes. So the biggest ones are the ones where we have these genuine earthquakes. They happen, or I guess maybe something even bigger when the Earth was formed or when we were hit by a huge asteroid, we don't know. And then once in a while, we have these, different regular earthquakes that we call.
Yes.
We have these regular earthquakes, and those are pretty big. And then let's think about the next scale. But I've been told, ladies and gentlemen, I should remind you that our number here is 4580900. Sometimes we put this on the screen, or you can look it up in the phone book. But I want to remind you, our number here is 4580900. And at this instant, the phone line is open if you'd like to call in with any question or conversation for Professor Mandelbrot, father of fractals, our guest tonight. Or if you'd like to enter one of the contests about when things in nature jump, or what are very interesting shapes in nature, or what does this peculiar picture I have here stand for with a B and a K in the screen. So if you have any ideas on any of these, or if you have any questions of your own you'd like to call in, we're here at 4580900. So we were talking about different size earthquakes.
Well, they're not different sizes. They're every size.
Every size.
There's
Some are
one
due
size
to
a bit bigger, a bit bigger, a bit bigger, every size.
Some are due to distant earthquakes.
Well, but if you look at earthquakes themselves, where they occur, they're all sizes.
They come in all sizes.
So here we see earthquakes of all sizes occurring, some close, some far away. And so we see pretty much things of every size imaginable. Not very big, because we are far from the very, very dangerous places. It's a safe place.
Now, what else would have, so what's in between? So if there weren't an earthquake, there must still be other things that cause the ground to move up and down a little.
Well, there's
Maybe
of course
explosions.
Melting of glaciers. That's very, very slow.
That's very slow, but
Yes.
that's a motion. But also there are explosions sometimes, I guess.
Yes.
If they were dynamiting somewhere,
Oh,
you would-
absolutely.
in a cave, or when they're doing these avalanche blast things out on the snow slope, on the ski
Absolutely.
slopes.
And friends of mine who do very accurate experiments are very careful not to put their laboratories close to major roads, because a truck rolling by has an effect
Or a
bigger
big
than the
truck.
experiment.
A big truck, there's another one. a
Makes
big
everything
truck.
jump.
And then you go down to little cars, and then at home, I don't know what things in the house cause vibration. Even just the running of the refrigerator
Yes.
causes a small amount of vibration.
Or the scratching of the cat's paws on the floor.
So you have to know, depending on your experiment, what scale you're talking about.
That's exactly it. Fractals are the study of questions which involve scale. And science started by studying phenomena which are well-defined scale. An atom, a molecule, they're well-defined scales.
So you know ahead of time what the scale size is going to be.
Roughly.
You have your ruler ahead of time then.
But then other phenomena don't have this property. So for example, stock market, there are small changes, big changes, bigger changes, very big changes.
You never know ahead of time. That's part of the difficulty.
That's
Not only that you don't know whether the market's going to go up or down, but you don't know how much it'll go up or how much it'll go down.
Absolutely. And if you look at galaxies, if you pick galaxy out of the blue, out of the sky, some are big, others are bigger, others are very big, others are enormous.
You know, in the stock market, I understand that even if you didn't know whether the stock market was going to go up or go down, but you knew how much it was going to go, you could make a lot of money.
Well, let's not talk about it. It's too complicated.
But there are ways of doing it. I mean, without getting into detail, there are ways of making money like that. We've got a call here, live on MathChat. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Spencer.
Spencer. Hi, welcome. Good to hear from you again.
I have an answer to jumping up and down.
Oh, you have an answer to something that jumps.
Yeah. Your blood pressure.
Your blood pressure would jump up and down if, for example, you suddenly get very angry about something. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, how about
That's
that?
interesting. That's interesting. He's getting a point very well.
Yes, that's a good one. And then minor things, if you see something interesting, that would make it jump a little less, I guess, at a smaller scale.
Yes.
And just as your heart beats, that causes it to go up and down all the time, I guess, right?
Oh, the heartbeat is very, very irregular. Even a healthy person, completely healthy person, it is not true that the heart is like a clock. Tuck, 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 tuck,
No?
tuck. No, no. Listen to your heart. It's very interesting. A healthy person, completely unstressed, the heart, the beat goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Very, very irregular.
That's healthy. No reason to worry, ladies and gentlemen. That's a healthy thing. You listen, and that's a kind of fractal behavior, and there's this thing. That's a great answer, Spencer. Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
I think we're going to have a prize for you. We'll announce this at the end.
Okay.
So you stay tuned in.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
So Spencer's one of the local school kids, too. We have some pretty smart ones out there.
How
you
old
know?
is he?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly Spencer, but he's been one of our regular callers. He's called in before.
Well, yeah, faithful listeners. It's very, very
Well,
good.
but Mary, I think, was a new caller tonight.
Well, she's very good also.
And you know, you're going to have to make a decision. I think what we ought to do is, I think we'd like to send them both a little prize, but only one caller tonight is going to get this autographed copy of your book.
Well, there's still more people are going to call.
And there's still maybe more people, so you got to keep these two in mind. But we had Mary on the earthquakes, that was great, and we had Spencer on the blood pressure, that was great. So we had some really good ones there already. So we'll see if somebody else comes up with some better ideas. But we have some pretty good competition there, I think, already.
Very active.
Now, are these sorts of what do you think is the most important question that no one understands in this area? What's a big open question, so that if we have any mathematicians or budding mathematicians out there, they know if they'd solve this, they would really be using something important?
Well, the question of infinity. After all, in mathematics, one uses all the time infinity. And for me, infinity was quite a mystery for a long time. In fact, I learned it. I thought I understood the question, but I had some, I don't know, some remaining doubts. And the reason is that if you look, for example, at a piece of the line, a small piece of line. Now, mathematics tells us there's an infinity of points on this piece, and they're all different. But to me, they look all the same. But they're all different. There are rational points, there are irrational points. Now, what makes them different? It's very difficult.
Geometrically, it sounds implausible.
Yeah, right. So the point is that...
Oh, we should remind everyone, there's still time for a call. If you'd like to call at 458-0900, we can still get another call in here, 458-0900.
So I think that, in a way the line is too simple. And if you replace the line by a complicated curve, of course a fractal, then things become much more visual. They expand. They are not so concise, and when they are bigger and they have their own flavor, they become more interesting. Now
so now the points on a fractal then look a little different. They
yes.
don't all look the same.
Yes. So take a point on the line. So one knows that have these, you can the left or the right part. So put 0 on the left and 1 on the right. Again on the right and left part of an interval. So you get this long, endless sequence of 0 and 1s. They are nice if you learn to understand them. But somehow they're not interesting looking. But suppose that instead of looking at the line, you look at the fractal.
Like the one behind us here.
Yes. Well, that's a bit complicated. But something simpler. So like a tree. So you go up, when you 0 you go left, and 1 you go right. And again, 0 go left, right you go left. So every time you add a decimal, well, a binary point, you add a branch to your tree. And so you see at some points correspond to places where the branches go like that, in one curly queue. Other points, they go this way. Other points, they go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way.
So every point has its own character.
Every point has a picture. Every point doesn't have only an address, but it has a face.
How it looks when you look at a big scale, and then it has another story maybe at a smaller scale.
Absolutely.
has a whole life history to it.
Yes, and the life history, you see it. It's like these old instruments in musical instruments that are like that, or like that, or like that, and like that, and like that, and like that. Each one is different.
So we have in a fractal a real interesting variety of points there. Each one has its own, so now they all look different.
Absolutely.
It's not like when you look at a line, I see that everything looks about the same. On this picture behind us, or in a more complicated fractal, every part of it has a different story to it, different scale to it.
Yes.
More like what we think the universe is like, more like what we think people are like.
Yes,
people. We've got a last call here for the contest, live on MathChat. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Max.
Matt?
Max.
Mac. Yes, welcome. Hi. Do you have an answer for us or a question?
Yes. I have an answer. It's sound.
Sound is something that jumps.
Yeah, because it vibrates up and down.
So you have this vibrating up and down, and it also gets louder and softer. You get a lot of jumps in all different directions.
So you see, you get all kinds of different jumps.
Oh, that's a good one, Mac. Thank you very much. Remember to call in after the show with your name and address.
Okay.
Thanks, Mac. Good. So I think we've got 3 winners there. They're all going to get prizes, but which one will get the grand prize?
Well,
you've got to judge now. Is
difficult.
it Mary with the earthquake, Spencer with the blood pressure, or Mac with the sound? You're going to have to pick a grand winner in the next 15 seconds here.
Mary.
Mary won. Mary with the earthquake. There's something you can feel the earthquake. That's one thing. You can see it. You can really feel it, but I think they were all excellent answers. Anyone could have been a winner on another night. So, but all 3 of you, be sure to call in with your name and address so that we can make sure you get that prize. And Mary, you will get an autographed copy of Professor Mandelbrot's new book as soon as we can order it and get it in for you. So you may have a little wait. Spencer and Mac, you'll get your prizes sooner, perhaps. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was I think, a historic show here on MathChat tonight. Fractals, it turns out, have a great relevance to nature that you might not expect otherwise. They have a tremendous, interesting mathematics to them. Every point in the fractal has its own story, and it has a story at every scale.
What else do you wish for?
So I think that's the best story to know about fractals. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any more questions, just save them up for next Sunday's edition of MathChat. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MathChat, the call-in show that answers all your questions. I'm Frank Morgan, professor of mathematics at Williams College, and as my special guest tonight, I have Professor Richard DeVoe, statistician of Williams College, professor in the math department, and this week's Sigma Xi lecturer. So it's great to have you here. We'll be talking more about that.
Thank you, Frank.
We also have tonight on camera Tom Grant, directing here Leela Zelnick, and in the control room Robin Yan, Corey Heilman, and Michael Hurwitz. We're going to have our usual array of questions, prizes. We'll be looking for your calls here on our special caller ID system at 458-0900. Well, it's great to have you back on the show. We've enjoyed having you on in the past, Professor DeVoe.
It's always been fun.
And this will be a big week for statistics. First of all, because it's Math Awareness Week that we're launching tonight. Second of all, because you are giving these honorary Sigma Xi lectures, come up once every semester at Williams College in the Sciences. And this week you'll be talking, no doubt, about statistics.
Most likely.
But why don't we start off with a question for the audience here.
All right.
Maybe you have some little challenge for them. We'd like to get people calling and get some prizes rolling out here tonight.
Good. Well, I've got a couple questions. They both involve births. And the first question is, just want to ask, which would be, suppose a family has 8 children.
Whoa,
That's
8
a lot.
children.
That's
You
a
don't
lot.
have that many, do you? How
Not,
many do you have?
not even I have that many.
You have?
We have 4.
4, that's pretty
Right.
good. But 8 children.
8 children.
Okay.
Suppose they have 8 children. Which would be more likely for them to have all girls,
All girls, pretty unlikely.
or the first 4 boys and the last 4 girls,
First 4 boys, last 4 girls.
or boy, girl, girl, boy, boy, girl, boy, girl?
Boy, girl, girl. Boy, boy, girl, boy, girl.
Right. So that winds up being 4 boys and 4 girls, but in that order.
So there are 3 possibilities
3
here.
possibilities.
First one was all girls.
Mm-hmm.
Then 4 boys, 4
And then
girls.
4 girls.
And then this interesting boy, girl, girl, boy, boy, girl, boy, girl.